Hello friends, a very warm welcome to this session of Python for Beginners. Python, as we know, is one of the most powerful language we should learn. This session will help you to understand the reasons that make Python so popular among all the developers nowadays. So let's get started. This module deals with the introduction to Python. We are going to discuss various topics such as history and origin of Python, the various characteristics features of Python that make it so special, the installation process of Python programming language on your computer systems. Finally, we will also discuss about different types of applications that can be developed in Python. Let's get along with the session overview. First of all, we are going to discuss the introduction to Python. Then we will progress to various features of Python. We will also see who are the target users of Python and what kind of applications can be developed in Python. We will then see the installation steps of Python. And finally, we'll try to develop our very first Python demonstration. Let us discuss some of the history aspects of Python. Python, as we know, is an object-oriented, high-level programming language which is easy to write and understand. It is very interactive, interpreted, and meant for general purpose. Python supports most of the object-oriented features. It is a high-level language. The code is written in English. It is easy to understand and write because the syntax of the language is so easy to understand to write for the programmers. This makes it a best choice for any beginner to start learning programming. It is interpreted rather than compiled. Line-by-line interpretation of Python code makes it faster to execute and faster to debug. Python is meant for general-purpose programming language. That is so because you can create different kinds of applications in Python, such as web applications, that is websites, gaming programs. We can also write research applications in machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, deep learning, and so on. You name the program, you can write it in Python. Python was developed by Edu4Sure at Centrum Wiskunde and Informatica in Netherlands. The first version of Python was released in the year 1991. A small snippet of information for you that Edu4Sure was a fan of famous TV show of Netherlands at that time. The name of the show was Monty Python's Flying Circus. The hero of the program was Monty Python. Rossum was so fascinated with the hero of the show that he named his development, that is the Python language as we know today, after the name of Monty Python. Well, Python is a powerful scripting language. It can be used as an efficient programming language to develop a wide variety of applications. Python is open source. By open source, we mean that we do not need any license or we do not need to pay any fee for downloading and coding in Python. Python comes under GNU General Public License. It is free to download, easy to use, and awesome to work on. Now, let us see some of the characteristics features of Python that make it so popular, so rich language. As we have already said, easy to write and understand. This particular feature itself is so powerful that it makes Python a very, very strong language, a very, very strong choice for all the beginners. The syntax of Python is much easier to learn as compared to its counterpart Java, C#, or say C or C++. The syntax of those languages are quite complicated because they use pointers, they use certain kinds of syntax that need to be remembered every time by the programmer. But as compared to all such languages, when we talk about Python, it is very easy to understand. It is very easy to write. Simple syntax structure of Python is very, very important for programming because it helps the programmer to grasp the concept easily and write the code in it very effectively. Python is a very general purpose and multi-purpose language because it is helping us to develop a wide variety of applications. May it be text processing applications or certain web programming applications, machine learning applications, games, data science applications, and so on. You name it, you get it. Python also supports multiple programming approaches. Whether you want to follow procedural approach or say functional approach, modular approach, or object-oriented style of programming. Any style of programming is supported by Python. In fact, Python is interpreted language. That means instead of being compiled as a whole, each and every line of code in Python is interpreted, debugged, and then executed. This each line interpretation of Python code makes it very fast to execute, very fast to debug. This efficiently improves the efficacy of their program. Let us continue with some more features. Python is interactive. This is a very important point because Python comes with different set of IDEs that you can use. By IDEs, we mean a complete set of environment where you can run your Python code all along with writing the code in the same IDE. There are numerous IDEs available in the market like PyCharm, Atom, Spider, Jupyter Notebook, and so on. Each of these IDEs enable you to efficiently write Python codes and visualize their execution, see their output at the same time in the same IDE. This makes Python a very interactive programming language for users. Python is dynamically typed. By this we mean that we do not need to statically assign any data type to variables declared in Python at static or say coding time. Whenever at the runtime you give any value to that variable, the kind of value will decide what is going to be the type of that variable. At the time of declaration, we do not need to specify the data type of that variable. We do not need to use any data type specifications as we use in other programming languages like C, C++, or Java, or in fact C# as well. Like we do not need to use int, char, float, double, string, and all such data type formalities. This makes Python a totally dynamically typed language. This feature of Python makes it a dynamically typed language because the type of the variable is decided at runtime and not at the compile or the coding time. Another important feature of Python is automatic memory management. This means that it is the responsibility of the Python system itself to allocate and deallocate memory to different variables, classes, methods, and it is not the headache of the programmer to allocate or deallocate memory, as is done in other languages like C, C++. Java at some point of time supports dynamic memory management or say automatic memory management in the form of garbage collection. But still, we need to specify the type of memory at the static time only, that is at the time of declaration. But as compared to Java, when we talk about Python, here you do not need to specify the type at the compile time, that is at the coding time. Along with that, we also do not need to use any keywords like new to allocate memory to our variables. It is completely, solely the responsibility of Python system itself. This makes it a very powerful language itself. Another feature that is so popular for Python is support to platform portability. When we talk about platform portability, we mean that we can develop our program in one platform and run the executable of that program on another platform without any compatibility configurations to be set. For example, suppose I made my software product in Windows system and I want to run that program, that executable in say Linux, Mac or Unix system. I can easily do that without any compatibility configurations settings. This makes it a very popular feature, providing it portability along different kinds of platforms. Finally, Python also has support for various third-party tools and utilities. You can easily integrate third-party tools, APIs, and utilities with your Python product to make it more effective for use. Let us talk about scripting languages and Python. One of the questions that arises in the mind of a developer is that, does Python fall in the category of scripting languages? Before we get to the answer to this question, let us quickly talk about what a scripting language is. The scripting language is a type of a programming language that works on the fundamental of automating a repeated job involving related or similar type of steps while executing the procedure of a program. This considerably reduces the development time and human effort, while it improves performance at the same time. Scripting languages require a separate runtime execution environment to execute their code. Scripting languages are interpreted and not compiled. Some of the best examples of scripting languages include JavaScript, Visual Basic, Perl, ECMAScript, Bash, Unix shell scripts, etc. Python is also a scripting language. But why so? Because it is interpreted high programming language. It is a high-level language that is developed for the purpose of fulfilling general programming requirements. The most important point that makes Python a scripting language is it being an interpreted language. So one of the features that makes any language a scripting language is its support for interpreter rather than compiler. Thus, we have reached to the answer that yes, Python falls in the category of scripting languages as it follows the complete notion of scripting language in being interpreted, and it also helps in automation process of certain code that requires to be repeated multiple times. Thereby, Python programming helps the developer to reduce the development time. The approach of Python reduces human efforts while improves performance of the program. Python has rich support for different kinds of packages, modules that enable user to develop applications for different domains, whether it be machine learning, artificial intelligence, neural network programming, and so on. Who are the popular users of Python? Who have made Python so popular? Many big fishes in the market, many big brands, many big companies like Google, Intel, Cisco, HP, IBM, all the big companies that we know today have used Python for their product development. In fact, Google has even employed the developer of Python in order to improve the language, in order to improve and efficiently integrate the products developed in Python. Intel, Cisco, HP, Seagate, IBM use Python for software hardware testing. Python is also being used as an end-user customization tool for its purpose of GIS mapping products. The most important company that we have to talk about is definitely YouTube. YouTube's video sharing service is largely written in Python. You can see how many big companies are using Python for their product developments. In fact, Google has a complete Colab available freely, which helps the users to develop and code in Python and create numerous applications with support for machine learning, data science, and so on. All these things, all these characteristics make Python popular, a rich and a beginner's choice of language. Thus, users are increasing day by day. It's worth to talk about what are the application areas of Python, where Python can be used. Python can be used in system programming, graphical user interface programming when you are creating your web applications, or it may be used for web scraping, internet scripting, component integration when you are dealing with a big software, multiple components need to be integrated, you can do so. You can work with NoSQL databases like MongoDB, Cassandra. In fact, you can work with MySQL also for database programming in Python. We can develop games, we can work on images, XML, robots, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks. We can create natural language processing applications, and this can be done easily in Python language. So guys, we have seen what is the main soul of Python programming language. Its usability, its easiness. It is worth to learn Python. You can not only code simple programs in Python, but you can develop complicated scripts, complex codes in Python, which are going to be used for different domains, may it be machine learning, artificial intelligence, deep learning, or any such field. Python has a very rich source of different classes, packages, and modules that have support for different domains of applications. This session comes to an end. In the next lecture, we are going to talk about the installation steps of Python, and we are going to make our very first program in Python. So guys, see you in the next lecture. Till then, happy learning.